In this session, which follows reliving, the therapist supports Karim to choose a hotspot to work on, to identify the peri-traumatic misappraisals associated with the hotspot, and to begin updating the appraisals. While the video focuses on one hotspot, traumas can and commonly do contain multiple hotspots. Most hotspots will already have been identified by this point after reliving, when the therapist asks about the worst moments, their associated thoughts and meanings. Therapists might have noted other potential hotspots themselves that the young person hasn't identified post-reliving. These might have been noted from a change in tense, the young person opening their eyes, seeming more anxious, dissociating, pausing, skipping over or repeating details of their trauma. In this video, another hotspot is identified by asking Karim about the re-experiencing symptoms he's noticed in between sessions.
Okay, Karim, you did really well last week telling me all about the attack from Al. How have you been feeling since?
All right. It still keeps popping up in my head again, but yeah.
I was going to ask you about that because sometimes what can happen is after you start to talk about a memory, you might find that you're having a few more of those intrusions or flashbacks. Has that been happening for you?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
So I want you to know that's actually quite normal, and I appreciate that's not nice for you. In a way, it sounds strange, but to me that can be quite a good sign because it tells me that you're doing exactly what we need to do, which is getting the memory out and starting to process it.
Okay.
Okay. Can I ask you a little bit more about what has been popping in for you since last week?
Mainly just Al's face. He's bright red, really angry. His mouth is twitching. Spit bubbles either side. He just looks crazy. Like he can do anything.
Okay. Well done. It sounds like you've got a really clear image there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if we can spend today starting to update that moment from the trauma.
Okay.
The therapist has helped Karim to identify which hotspot to work on by asking about intrusive memories. Asking about hotspots or intrusions will usually identify the same part of the memory because intrusions are associated with hotspots.
How do we do that?
So do you remember we've spoken about how PTSD memories get quite stuck?
Mm-hmm.
What we know that's happening is those same bits of the memory are popping out on you when they're not welcome. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. And it sounds like there are some really intense, scary feelings that come with those moments that pop out. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we also know that one thing that really keeps PTSD going is that the thoughts that you will have had in this moment of the memory, they're stuck too. So we need to do some work to update them or to change them.
Okay.
Once we update the thoughts, so kind of what went through your mind in the memory and the meaning you took from the memory, we'll be able to help you to feel better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're actually going to do this using this sheet here. Okay. Do you want to just read the column headings out?
Sure. Situation, thoughts, feelings then, what I now know, and feelings now.
Okay. We're going to do some writing on this. Do you want to write or shall I write?
Can you do it?
Of course. So the first column, situation, what would you sort of label what's happening or kind of short description of what's happening in this hotspot?
Looking at Al when he throws the ball at my head.
Okay. So looking at Al when he throws the bottle at my head. This next column, thoughts, means what do you remember thinking in this moment?
I was thinking he's going to kill both of us.
He's going to kill us both. Were you thinking anything else?
I was thinking if Mum's okay. And yeah.
Okay. This might sound strange, but What for you was the worst thing about this moment? What did it mean for you?
It meant that I felt fragile. I felt useless, empty.
Okay. So you described some feelings there. I've started to put them in the next column.
Okay.
You're feeling fragile, feeling useless, feeling empty. And I'm just wondering if there's anything else that you were thinking at the time.
I was thinking about blood dripping down. I thought it was an artery. I was thinking, will this kill me?
Okay. It's a really tricky thought. So there's blood dripping down. It sounds like you're wondering if you've cut an artery.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that same thought coming in again, will this kill me?
Yeah.
Okay, well done. And again, this might sound really strange, but what would be the worst thing about dying? What would it mean?
I mean, my mum is just there. No one is able to help her, protect her.
Okay. We're going to put that meaning in the same column.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You already mentioned some feelings that you're having at the time. This next column, feelings. You mentioned fragile, useless, empty. Are there any other emotions that you are having?
I was scared. Really scared. Also angry, but mostly scared.
Yeah, understandably. Okay. And let's just kind of go through and give these a rating out of 10. So, how scared were you?
10.
Makes sense. How angry?
Maybe 6.
How fragile did you feel?
5, 6,
Okay. And what about these two?
7.
Okay. For both of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Well done. So you've done the first few columns. How does that look?
Yeah, it looks good, I guess, on paper.
Okay. So the next column's difficult. Is there anything that you know now? So it's called What I Know Now. That really means, is there anything you know now that you did not know and couldn't really have known at the time?
Well, I know I survived, as well as my mum.
So you both survived. How did that come to be?
Well, the blood didn't cut an artery. It was alright. It was
Okay.
fine.
How do you know that an artery wasn't cut?
The doctor told me it was just a vein.
Oh, wow. So you went to see a doctor and they told you. And I don't suppose you could have known this then, but do you know now if you can die from cutting a vein?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The therapist and Karim have a conversation about the difference between arteries and veins, focusing especially on the fact that the arteries in the arm are deep and hard to sever. The therapist takes opportunities to emphasise that it was understandable that Karim had those thoughts, while at the same time helping Karim to conclude that he was not in any danger of dying by bleeding from a cut artery. These reminders of what Karim knows now are added to the column.
Just want you to try to summarise what you know now that you didn't know then.
Okay. Well, now I know that me and my mum were safe. I wasn't going to die. The arteries are deep, protected, and only just cut a vein, even though it did look like a lot of blood was losing.
Okay, well done. And holding that in mind, how do you feel now?
Better. Maybe just 4 out of 10 less scared, you know.
Okay. Let's add that into these last two columns.
Okay.
Okay.
The therapist and Karim go on to have a conversation about the other thoughts in this hotspot, that Al is crazy and that he won't be able to protect his mum. These thoughts are updated using a similar approach. The thoughts were understandable at the time, but have not yet been updated in the trauma memory. The main update is that Karim and Mum were not killed by Al. They are both alive. Karim lists all the things that he and Mum were able to do to protect themselves. Karim also concludes that Al is a bully and a coward. The new information to update the thought is also written as a summary into the summary worksheet. Of note, sometimes updates will be confirming the young person's peri-traumatic thoughts, such as Karim confirming that the situation was serious. Updates can be written information that the young person says or reads to themselves as Karim has entered into the table. Updating can also include holding an image of what is known now in mind, such as Karim picturing his mother safe and well, or an action such as moving his arm in a way that shows it is no longer severed or in pain.